The Catcher in the Rye, a sincere tale of growing pains for the lost. Preface: when we get lost in the rye field, there are countless books in the world, and sometimes the act of reading itself can feel daunting or overwhelming. This is especially true for those who have been out of school for a long time or haven't had many opportunities to read. Questions like, what book should I read? Will the content be too difficult? And what can I gain from reading it? Might hold us back from starting to read. But books are not simply tools for transmitting knowledge. At times, they reflect our own image like a mirror, listen to our concerns like a friend, and subtly guide us toward the path we must walk like a guide. The book I am introducing to you today can be both a friend and a mirror, as well as a guide. It is The Catcher in the Rye by Jerome David Salinger. Since its publication in 1951, this book has captured the hearts of millions of young people around the globe and remains a symbol of wandering youth even today. You might worry, can I understand this book without much knowledge or sophistication? Please put aside such doubts. This book doesn't require complex knowledge or a high level of cultural refinement. If you've ever felt confused in life, if you've ever grumbled about the world not meeting your expectations, or even if you've wondered, why am I like this? You will likely find unexpected empathy and comfort in the protagonist, Holden Caulfield. Let's now take a journey into the world of this unique young man, Holden Caulfield. Part 1: Holden Caulfield and his phony world. The protagonist of The Catcher in the Rye is a 16-year-old boy named Holden Caulfield. Born into a wealthy family and attending a prestigious school, Holden is expelled due to academic failure and maladjustment. The novel is composed of Holden's experiences and inner monologues during the few days he spends wandering New York City before heading back home after being expelled. 1. This whole world is full of phonies. The world through Holden's eyes. Holden Caulfield's most prominent feature is his profound cynicism and critical awareness. He labels almost everything around him as phony and despises it. Adults appear hypocritical to him, society is corrupt, and schools are nothing more than superficial educational systems. Even his teachers, handsome theater actors, and the girls he dates are considered phonies in his eyes. School life. Holden criticizes his school, Pensy Prep, as a place swarming with phonies. He finds the school's pretense of being a good educational institution, its students pretending not to care about each other while competing intensely, and its emphasis on superficialities like graduation speeches or sports heroes as hypocritical and repulsive. The adult world. Holden feels disgust when he listens to adults talk. He is frustrated by their insincere compliments, self-serving attitudes, and double standards, acting one way toward children while behaving poorly themselves. He cannot tolerate adults who assert authority and status merely because they are adults. Love and relationships. Holden also cannot find genuine sincerity in romantic relationships. While he dates girls for their looks, he soon becomes disenchanted with their superficial conversations and actions. Though he desires authentic communication, he simultaneously builds walls to avoid getting hurt. Holden observes the world with a critical eye. He yearns for purity and truth, yet believes these are rarely found in reality. His attitude isn't merely complaining, it resonates with our own feelings of emptiness and loneliness. Haven't we all sometimes thought, why is that person so pretentious? Or why is the world so unfair? Or where is the real thing I'm looking for? Holden's critique of the phony world is a universal question about the hypocrisy and inconsistencies in our society. 2. The longing for purity amid grief. Sister Phoebe and deceased brother Ali. Behind Holden's cynical attitude lies a deep sense of loss and a longing for purity. Two significant figures who greatly influenced his life are his younger sister Phoebe and his deceased younger brother Ali. Deceased brother Ali is the epitome of purity and idealism in Holden's memory. He died young from leukemia, and Holden remembers him as a child who was never fake, always kind and smiling. Ali's death left deep sorrow and trauma in Holden, leading him to wish for a world where innocence remains untainted. The episode where Holden writes poetry in Ali's baseball glove illustrates Ali's literary sensitivity and purity while showing how much Holden cherished his brother. Younger sister Phoebe is the only one Holden sees as genuinely authentic and free from phoniness. She is honest and pure, listens to her brother, and occasionally challenges him with sharp insights. In front of Phoebe, Holden sheds his pretense and shows his true self. Phoebe, with her childlike sincerity, soothes Holden's turbulent heart and serves as a beacon of hope, helping him move beyond his critical view of the world. Holden worries that Phoebe might be tainted by the world's phoniness as she grows up. Holden's intense longing for purity likely stems from his instinctive realization that he himself could be easily corrupted by the world's phoniness. He resists joining the adult world and desperately fights against becoming one of those phonies. 3. I Want to Be the Catcher in the Rye, Holden's dream and symbol. The title of the novel and Holden's most significant desire is to become the catcher in the rye. This dream is concretely revealed in his conversation with his sister Phoebe. Quoting a song, actually a misremembered line from Robert Burns' poem, Holden says, "I just want to watch over the kids playing in the rye field. When they run toward the edge of the field, like toward a cliff, I want to catch them so they won't fall." This scene is a symbolic representation of Holden's inner world. Rye field, the world of children, symbolizing innocence and childhood. Cliff, the world of adults, representing the dangerous boundary where innocence is lost and one becomes contaminated by phoniness. Catcher, the guardian who wants to protect children's innocence and prevent them from falling into the corrupt adult world. This dream results from Holden's loss of Allie and his longing for Phoebe's purity combined with his disillusionment with the adult world's phoniness. Even though he has already entered the adult world, Holden hopes that at least innocent children will not be tainted by its corruption. This is a self-sacrificial dream and a reflection of Holden's purest and most beautiful inner self. Part 2, Growing Pains. Found in the journey of wandering, Holden's journey and insights. Holden's few-day wandering in New York is not merely a rebellion but a painful journey to find himself. During this process, he experiences numerous frustrations and confusions, yet he simultaneously glimpses small possibilities for growth. 1. Alienation and loneliness, disconnection from the world. Holden constantly tries to communicate with others but repeatedly fails. He attempts to talk to strangers in hotels or meet old friends but ultimately cannot achieve genuine connection and ends up frustrated. His conversations often remain superficial or end in misunderstandings. Meetings and disappointments. He dates his ex-girlfriend Sally Hayes but becomes disgusted by her vanity and carefree attitude about the future, leading to an argument. He also spends time with women he meets in bars, only to leave after shallow conversations. Even his old teacher, Mr. Antolini, who is concerned about him, causes Holden to feel misunderstood and flee. The wall he builds himself. While Holden criticizes the phoniness of the world, ironically, he often acts phony himself. He boasts, lies, and closes his heart. This is a defensive mechanism to avoid being hurt, but it ultimately pushes him deeper into loneliness. Absence of true friends. Holden often feels lonely and misses friends, yet he has no one to share his true feelings with. He spends time alone watching movies or sitting in bars, observing people. This loneliness intensifies his wandering and exhausts him mentally. Holden's sense of alienation and loneliness is a familiar feeling for many living in modern society. Although we appear to build relationships with many people, there are times when we feel no one understands us and we are truly alone. Holden's loneliness exactly reflects the loneliness we experience. 2. Small realizations amid confusion. The carousel and Phoebe. Holden's wandering eventually reaches a turning point through his reunion with his sister Phoebe. Although Holden suggests running away with her, Phoebe criticizes his irresponsible attitude and decides to stay in school. Phoebe shouts at Holden, "You don't like anything that's happening." This makes Holden confront the fact that he only sees the world negatively. In the end of the novel, Holden watches as Phoebe rides a carousel. She tries to reach for a gold ring but nearly falls when stretching. Though worried that Phoebe might fall, Holden then realizes something important. "I know that kids are going to fall off sometimes. But you can't catch them every time. They have to learn to fall and get up on their own." This moment is the peak of Holden's growing pains and marks the point where he modifies his ideal of being the catcher in the rye. He realizes that he cannot protect children's innocence indefinitely. He must acknowledge that children grow through experiences, falling, and getting back up. This signifies a subtle shift in Holden's perspective on the world. In other words, instead of rejecting all phoniness and disconnecting from the world, he now begins to realize the need to find his own path within it. 3. The conclusion of the novel Unfinished Growing Pains. The novel concludes with Holden reflecting on his experiences from a mental institution. He leaves behind the line, "When you're in a bad mood and you tell people about it, you miss them," indicating that he starts to yearn for connection with others, those he previously criticized as the fake world. The Catcher in the Rye does not provide a clear happy ending or dramatic transformation for Holden. He is still confused and uncertain about his future. However, this unresolved ending is what makes the book so captivating. Life does not offer perfect answers, and growth is not instant but an ongoing process. The novel ends with Holden still searching for his path, yet at least some seeds of change are evident within him. Part 3. Insights from The Catcher in the Rye. This book is more than just a story about a young man's confusion. Its enduring popularity and the simultaneous praise and controversy it has received over 70 years stem from its timeless and universal message. Regardless of one's level of knowledge or sophistication, the questions and comfort the book offers us are the following. 1. Meeting your inner Holden Caulfield. We all have moments when we feel the world is hypocritical and filled with phoniness, just like Holden. Whether it's the unreasonable rules at school or work, politicians' double standards, or the packaged lives we see on social media, we daily encounter the phonies Holden criticizes. Though we might not openly complain like Holden does, we internally feel frustrated and disillusioned, thinking, something's just not right. The Catcher in the Rye pulls out the Holden Caulfield within us who quietly grumbles and feels alienated. It offers empathy and comfort, letting us know that we are not alone and that our chaotic feelings are perfectly natural. 2. Unending questions about purity and sincerity. Holden searches endlessly for purity and sincerity but cannot fully find them in reality. Even he occasionally behaves phonically. This raises important questions for us. What exactly is purity, and what does it mean to live sincerely? Is it enough to simply reject all hypocrisy and criticize the world, or should we find our own balance within it? The book doesn't provide answers. Instead, it encourages readers to reflect on their own lives, distinguishing between what is genuine and what is not, and to consider what values they ought to pursue. Becoming an adult might sometimes mean losing some innocence and making compromises, but it can also be a process of learning how to maintain one's authenticity amid complexity. 3. The meaning of becoming an adult. Holden strongly resists entering the adult world, viewing it as the loss of innocence and the contamination of phoniness. Yet, in the end, he realizes that children must fall and that he misses people. This indicates that becoming an adult involves more than just growing older. It also means understanding the world's complexity and finding oneself through relationships with others. We all go through the process of growing from children into adults. Along the way, we face the gap between ideals and reality, the weight of responsibilities, and the burden of societal roles. The Catcher in the Rye honestly reveals the pain and confusion of this growth, prompting us to reflect on the significance of our own growing pains. Becoming an adult isn't all bad, nor is it entirely bad. Holden's journey allows us to experience this indirectly. 4. The importance of communication and understanding. One of Holden's greatest tragedies is his inability to communicate genuinely. Though he talks to people, he eventually hides within himself or causes misunderstandings. His cynical attitude ultimately isolates him. This book highlights the difficulty and importance of communication. Despite the world seeming full of phonies, we can only achieve true understanding and relationships through connections with others. Holden's final statement about missing people shows that humans are social beings. Even if imperfect and hypocritical, we find meaning in life through connections with others. This book asks us, are you truly communicating with someone? And are you making an effort to understand others? Conclusion. Moving forward toward the Rye Field again, The Catcher in the Rye is not a difficult or complex classic novel. It gives us the feeling of a sensitive and sincere teenage boy from next door, openly sharing his innermost thoughts. His complaints, grumblings, loneliness, and despair hold the very feelings we have all experienced at some point. While it's important to gain knowledge and cultural refinement through reading, sometimes a book can simply comfort our hearts, encourage self-reflection, and open a new perspective for understanding the world. The Catcher in the Rye is such a book. You don't need any special preparation to read this book. If you have, at any time, felt confused as a teenager, still believe the world is full of phonies, or have vague fears or hopes about becoming an adult, it is more than sufficient. Following Holden Caulfield's honest and rough story, you will inevitably find your own rye field and start to think about who might protect you within it, or who you might protect. So, don't hesitate, go into Holden Caulfield's rye field right now. You might get lost, but you may also discover the small beginnings of finding your own path. This book will offer you warm comfort with the message, you are not alone, and encourage you to ask sincere and courageous questions about the world.